For the life of me, I still do not understand this Kevin Durant trade. Guys, this is Matt with Hoopsology and wanted to bring up this Kevin Durant trade, which is now about 2 days old in the news cycle, and I still can't wrap my head around it. It seems to me all the talking points have been just on the future of both of these teams, with Phoenix, of course, who acquired Kevin Durant, and Brooklyn, who have moved on and got some assets in this trade for him. But there's really been no focus on the fact that Kevin Durant had 3 years left on his contract. So when you look at the trade, and I've got the details up on the screen here, of course you see that Phoenix gets Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. I don't fault them for potentially mortgaging their future to get Kevin Durant. It's not often that a player who is top 20 all time is able to be traded like this. And so Phoenix was able to capitalize on this. Kudos to them. Instantly, of course, go to a title contender, assuming that their starting lineup can stay healthy, which might be a big if. But I digress. Looking at what Brooklyn gets, because I do want to focus on the Brooklyn side of things in this video. I do not understand this trade at all and how this was approved. They get Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, who was then moved for second-round picks, 4 first-round picks from Phoenix, 2023, 2025, 2027, 2029, and then a first-round pick swap with Phoenix in 2028. Where do we even begin here? Phoenix masterfully executed this trade. I don't know how they were able to do this without giving away at least DeAndre Ayton. You have 3 players that Brooklyn receives, none of them being all-star caliber players. So you give up a top 20 guy of all time that you had for 3 more years under contract, and you don't even get back an all-star level player, not even asking for a Hall of Fame level player return here. Just get an all-star back for it. Nope. You get Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. With these 4 first-round picks, let's talk about this, because I know the next point is going to be, well, they got all these picks, Matt. These can be used in trade bait. These can be used to give them more flexibility moving forward. Well, maybe. Devin Booker is 26 years old. So in 2023, this pick doesn't have much value this year. 2025, quite possible. I mean, if Kevin Durant plays out his contract, which ends in 2026, 2025, the Suns should be a good team in the NBA, should be potentially a top tier team. Again, Devin Booker is 26 years old. So I can't even guarantee to you all that the Suns are going to struggle in 2027 and beyond, those last 3 years that they're getting, that Brooklyn gets first round picks from Phoenix. Keep in mind, not only is Devin Booker 26, but if DeAndre Ayton hangs around, he's younger than Devin Booker. So you have 2 cornerstones of that franchise. There's a realistic chance they could still be playing together in 2029. The Nets basically just signed themselves into mediocrity. They did get enough talent back in this, combined with what they received from the Kyrie Irving trade, combined with some of the pieces that they already had. I would assume that they are going to continue to make moves this upcoming offseason, because I don't think you want to hang out being a 7 or 8 seed for the foreseeable future, which is kind of what they are set up to do right now. So I don't get it. Let's go through the timeline here. Kyrie scores a bunch while Kevin Durant is out injured since January 15th. Kyrie builds his trade value and says, you know what? I want to trade after all. And Joe Tsai and the management seems to say, well, Kyrie, you've caused us enough headaches. So, okay, let's give you your trade. Let's get you out of here. We don't want Russell Westbrook, and we don't want to give you your first destination, maybe on a personal level from what it sounded like. So we're going to go ahead and trade you to the Mavericks. All right, we get some pieces back from that. We get some draft picks, whatnot. Okay, but trading Kyrie Irving upsets Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant puts in a trade request. You're sitting down at this meeting, and just play with me here. All right, let's say I'm Josiah in this scenario, and you as Kevin Durant tell me, look, Kyrie's gone. I wanted to play with Kyrie. We're done here. Okay, Kevin Durant, I understand you're upset about that. I understand you guys are tight. But look, we've got some interesting pieces around you. Yes, this hurts our title chances this year. Give us some time. We'll bring another star in. Let's get this done. We still want you as the foundation of our franchise. You are one of the greatest small forwards to ever do this. We believe you can bring us a title as you intended to do when you came to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant then says, no, I'm sorry. I'm really unhappy. I want to trade. At this point, you can say yes or no, but either way, Kevin Durant is under contract for the next 3 years. I don't understand how this wound up with saying, okay, we will trade you to the Phoenix Suns. There's another article that came out from Brian Windhorst, information from Brian Windhorst and Ramona Shelburne, that said that Nets management saw Kevin Durant as the beacon of light over the last couple years and were heartbroken to trade him. Well, you didn't have to trade him. He's under contract. This conversation ends with, well, Kevin, I'm sorry that you are unhappy with how things have gone. Yes, it's been chaotic. We want to play this out with you. We have you under contract for 3 more years. Let's play out the rest of the season and see how this goes. And the fact that it didn't go that way, the fact that this happened so quickly, not only makes me think that perhaps there is really this great level of incompetence in that management team, but also makes me think that the incompetence is due to personal feelings and just exhaustion of the drama that has, everyone knows, been going on in Brooklyn for the last couple of years. And when you let things get personal like this and you make decisions on a personal level like that, if that's the way it went down, you make some really bad business decisions. And I don't care how smart of a businessman Josiah is, you did not get equal return in this trade for Kevin Durant. And I don't think I can be convinced otherwise.
I think in conversations with people around the NBA, like, it's universal. Everybody's just in awe of what he's been able to do. Because this is, as some people have said, this is as much a longevity record as it is a talent or production record, right? Like, a lot of guys have been great scorers for 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20, and still performing at an all NBA level. Like, there's so many aspects of this that just are mind blowing. And I think people who were there in '84 to witness Kareem breaking the record, and I've talked to some of those folks, I think they were all of two minds on this. In the moment, they thought, man, no one's ever breaking this. Look what Kareem's done. Guys don't make it this deep into a career. And Kareem was not quite at 20 years then, but he was on his way to 20. And I think people at the time thought, no one's going to be able to put together a career of this much production over this many years again. But 1984 was a much different world than we live in now in terms of sports science and nutrition and training and all these things. So you can think of it as conceptually possible. And a lot of people I talked to, again, said things to the effect of, hey, every record is going to be broken at some point. Maybe not Wilt's 100, but the general philosophy is you should never say never. But that said, like, you cannot, in 1984 or in 94 even, you could not have imagined a player who looked like LeBron physically, played like LeBron, and could last as long as LeBron. Like, none of us should smack ourselves for thinking this wasn't possible. Who could have conceived of this guy? Mm-hmm. Like, he's out of, a comic book or a lab. Like, you just can't imagine that. The human brain can't conceive of that, especially if we're talking about through the prism of 1984. So, it is amazing. It's remarkable. And on top of that, we have to remember he's not done. Like the guy's going to play at least a couple more years or more while waiting for, Bronny Jr. to arrive. And who knows how many thousands of more points he's going to tack on. And at that point, we're all going to do the same exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, LeBron's retiring with 8 billion points. Is this now the most unbreakable record? And at that point, I think we're all probably going to look around and say, yeah, I know Kareem's was supposed to be unbreakable, but this one really is. Right? Like that's, if somebody asks me in a few years, and they will, or 10, 20 years from now, and I'm retired and on a porch somewhere drinking lemonade, and someone calls me up and says, hey, we heard you used to cover the NBA and you were around when LeBron broke that record. Is everybody ever going to break it again? I'm saying, hell no. Like it's just, it still seems just beyond belief.
Trade Kyrie Irving to the Mavericks. This is just off of NBA.com. Just to break this down for you guys, Brooklyn receives Spencer Dinwiddie. He's back. You'll remember he used to play for them. Dorian Finney-Smith, the 2027 second-round pick from Dallas, 2029 first-round pick, which is unprotected, and a 2029 second-round pick. Dallas, in return, receives, of course, Kyrie Irving, and then to make salaries work, Markieff Morris as well. So, Justin, we'll dive into Brooklyn and the blow potentially to them or the relief maybe.
Yeah.
But when you look at this from Dallas's side of things, how are you feeling about what they gave up, what they're getting? Some more context for the listener, just real quick. Kyrie Irving is an expiring contract. He can walk this summer. So how do you feel about this? Let's stick with the Dallas side of things to open up.
It's a risky move. I would say borderline desperate move. And I have questions. I was talking to Jorge about this, former guest of the show, former co-host of mine on another podcast a long time ago. But we're talking. I'm like, I don't like him and Luka together. I mean, you're dealing with another ball dominant player on your team, and not only that, another superstar. I mean, we heard all these rumors about Luka and Porzingis not getting along, and now you have somebody way more, I would say, controversial, contentious, and somebody who has been inconsistent, whether you agree with him or disagree with him for his reasons for not playing. He's being inconsistent. I mean, I think there is a stat that him and Kevin Durant played like 72 games, something like that, in his tenure there. I mean, that's crazy. So I don't like this for the long term. Short term, we'll see. I mean, for all the baggage Kyrie gets, in terms, other than Boston, really, his track record of playing with other superstars while he's on the court is pretty good, in my opinion. But all the off the court issues, and then just the personality set. I mean, everybody deals with it when you're in a workplace, right? Somebody new comes along, either you like him or you don't. I mean, it just depends. So, yeah, I have my reservations about this, and you're right, Matt. He can just bounce after this season if he doesn't like being there. So, I really don't know what his mindset is. It's really weird because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but again, I don't want to sound like an old man, but a lot of superstars that we were watching when we were growing up, we're able to really track and see what their motivations are in this new era. It's really unpredictable. Really don't know. I mean, he's won a title. He's played with all the superstars, played with his friend. I don't really know what he truly wants. I said the same thing about Kevin Durant. I don't know what else he would prefer. So in this situation here, if I'm a Mavericks fan, I feel better because he's an awesome player, but at the same time, it is a massive risk for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking around at different takes on this as much as I could find, there are a couple different things. And I think for the most part, Kyrie Irving is so polarizing right now, or maybe it's not even polarizing because it just seems like the majority of people are just really, really against him, especially after what happened in November. So it seems like the other side of this too is that it's tough to get like an unbiased, unemotional take on really what this is going to look like in Dallas. Like it seems like a lot of the things that I saw posted, even the instant reactions were just like, well, Kyrie Irving sucks. So Dallas, I saw a very reputable site. I won't name who because I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, but
I'm curious. Spill the tea, Matt.
I'll tell you, the site was saying, given like trade grades, really
Sure.
simple.
Yeah.
Just saying Mavericks D, Brooklyn Nets B+ for this trade. And I'll just say it was ESPN.
Okay.
And I don't know who, to be honest. I just saw this on social media.
Fair enough.
And I think that's ridiculous because Kyrie Irving is by far the most talented player in this deal. And it's not even close. And we've seen a record of him still being able to be that high talented player this season. And we've seen it for a stretch of games now, too. So I don't think it's fair. If anything, it's even if you're taking the side of like, I just want to be rid of Kyrie Irving and all the headaches that you mentioned earlier. It's absolutely a fair criticism to say he's only really had big success with LeBron James back in Cleveland that year that he hit that shot in that 2016 finals. Totally fair. Things flamed out in Boston. Things now flamed out in Brooklyn. So this is kind of do or die for Kyrie. Maybe that's a good thing, or maybe Kyrie's content with just kind of letting things sort of flame out. He seemed like he has no problem stepping away from the game, even when he's healthy. So again, I would put this a little bit more of an even value of a trade, if nothing else. From Dallas's side, just to finish the thought on Dallas, they're not bringing in free agents typically, and they're not bringing in big trade prospects, things like that. So I do kind of feel like their back is against the wall. And for my purposes, I'm okay with them rolling the dice here because it does raise their ceiling if Kyrie Irving is healthy and playing. And yes, that is a big if. But I just don't think they were going to get further than last year. And you might even argue that last year they were lucky to be in that Western Conference Finals. This year they don't have Jalen Brunson. So they were going into the postseason potentially with less firepower.
Agreed.
Now you could argue even with losing Dorian Finney-Smith, they have more firepower. And Luka finally has a star, at least almost his caliber of player. Although, as you mentioned, Kyrie Irving does have the title. Luka doesn't yet. So it's a guy that Luka can respect. Players seem to still gravitate towards Kyrie. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't mind this for Dallas. You did something for Luka. And then even if he walks, you have tons of cap room this offseason and can try to test your luck with free agency, which is something you were going to need to do anyway.
No, I agree. It's very interesting at this point just seeing the discourse on Kyrie.
Yeah.
Just because typically when you're dealing with an athlete, especially within the association that has a lot of baggage, usually on the court they're expendable or their skills have diminished. What comes to mind, like a Dennis Rodman, Ron Artest is another one. Like, wow, both of them. They're ironically kind of similar in that regard with Ron and Dennis Rodman. But Kyrie, with no disrespect, but he's way better than those two. I mean, he is an instant Hall of Famer, and yet he has this baggage within the league itself. And I think you have to look at from a Nets perspective. Sean Marks, I think, is a good point. Like let's face it here, you've had Durant request a trade, but he's still there, but he was disgruntled. Harden bounce. Kyrie Irving bounce. Ben Simmons has been a bust.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been an unapologetic failure on many levels for the Brooklyn Nets. And you just have to wonder who is culpable in this situation here. And I think Sean Marks deserves some blame, but so do the guys, on this team. And I don't know if it's a really great look for the league, to be honest, when you have, three of your most prominent superstars, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. And it's not so much like it didn't work. I just feel like from the optic standpoint, it just, to me, in this era of super teams, and I'm not really a big fan of super teams, but it was a bummer not to see that just come together at least for like a season or two, and to see it just go down that way. I think it's not good for the league.